So Chinese medicine believes in balance. This macro, because Chinese medicine works with universal law. We don't see each specific things. We don't see each virus or nutrition, like a molecule or iron, or like we don't see those. We see we believe that there's a law of how things should be, how the perfect way of how things should be, and that's Tao. This is the Tao. Things should be, how the things should be. So Tao in universe will be how the solar system works. How Earth goes around using one year, and then Earth itself turns in the 24 hours, and those are the way things are functioning perfectly, beautifully, as if it's a creation of some supernatural power. Maybe it is. I don't know. So that's the way things should be. Is here. So we always look at this way that things needs to be, and when there's the patient who's not there, we try to balance this person to go as close as this center line, the way it should be. So things are usually yin and yang in balance, because if the yin and yang are balanced, the person won't be sitting in front of me as a patient. So yin and yang is these things. So this white part with black dot, that's yang, and this black part with white eye, this is yin, and this dots in each white and black part is the key of the Chinese medicine, which means this having a black dots in a big yang fish means that there's always tiny part or big part, or always some part of opposite polarity is in it. So there's always small yin in the yang, and there's always small yang in the yin. Yin and yang always exist at the same time. There is never 100% yin or 100% yang. So that's the key of Chinese medicine. So these dots are actually very important. So this represents like how things are balanced. 50-50, 50-50, perfect. Okay. Okay. So yin and yang has a nature. Yin is more darker and more wet, quiet natures and cold natures. Yang is more warm and hyper, and then outgoing, and then outwardly. That's the yang nature. So if you look up some example, I put it here. Femininity goes under yin, and masculinity goes under yang. But so woman is more yin than yang, and there's only relative more yin or more yang, because there's no 100% yin or yang, which means in any woman there is must always have a part of man in her, and then in any man there's always a part of the feminine part in the man. And as long as it's in beautiful balance, it's the way it is. So moon, yang is more sun. Yin is more moon, more quiet in the nighttime. Sun is like sun is the strongest force of yang in the physical world. So sun is definitely under yang. Water is yin, and then fire is under yang. Dampness is a pathogen. It's like a damp pathogen is under yin. Heat pathogen is under yang. Yin also have a weakness, deficiency, and yang has a forcefulness and excess. So this is a characteristic of yin and yang. So my job as a Chinese medicine practitioner is looking for where's yin and yang imbalance. And this is so complicated that sometimes it's difficult to explain how this specific disease of this person sitting in front of me happens. And when she asked me and why this all happens, and well, it happens from way back, and I explained from the beginning of it, which could be like 20 years ago, whatever, but I explained how the disease progressed. But at one point, if I see like the patient's already lost my explanation of how the things are, how this diseases happen to this person, I always say, well, it is yin and yang imbalance. And they usually say, right. Always, any diseases is yin and yang imbalance. Anything. So everything in the universe is under this law. Everything. Nothing goes away from this law in this physical world. This is a physical world talk. Chinese medicine first found the universal rule of yin and yang that can be applied to everything. I can't tell you who found the yin and yang, because I may have looked it up on the internet once, but I can't remember. But this person found, I don't know, by maybe looking at the coin, there's always this side and there's always the other side. Or maybe he was looking at like a sun, there's a sun, and then the other side is there's always shadow. Or maybe, I don't know what he was looking at it, but he realized that everything is under the law of yin and yang. And this discovery of yin and yang is it was a game changer in China, I think. It's like all the philosophy and medicines and art of the world, like everything was basically yin and yang. So is computer, because computer language is essentially 0 and 1, right? Anyway, so the law of yin and yang is universal. Everything on the earth follows the rule, and this also, of course, applies to this newly found virus. So when the balance of yin and yang is achieved in all body, mind, and spirit, because Chinese medicine thinks body, mind, and spirit is one package, you can't just have a one healthy body without the without the healthy mind, or with unhealthy spirit. So it is said that the Tao is achieved. So that's here. When the body's yin and yang is perfectly balanced, and if you think this is a teeter-totter, when the yin and yang is balanced, this teeter-totter stops. There's a stillness. That stillness, no movement of it, is a void. That's void. That's Tao. And when the yin and yang of the body and mind and then spirit is all in centered, it is said that you found your Tao. Because Tao, this is another important aspect of this philosophy, that the Chinese, in this concept, Tao, every single person owns the Tao. There's the Tao for every single person. It's when it's conceived in mother's tummy, at the point of the conception, it is here. It is Tao. It is homeostasis. It is perfect balance. And then as you grow up in the mother's womb, and then was given the birth, and then grew up, and then imbalance occurs. So the Buddhism thinks that there is Tao. Tao is also the Buddhahood. Buddhahood is Tao. So every person, every single person, each single person have a Tao, which means every single person have a Buddha, part of the Buddha in their inside. That's why in India, Namaste. They say Namaste to everybody because Namaste means salute. I'm paying respect to the Buddhahood in you. So every single person are Buddha, and that's the idea. But anyway, so when the Yin and Yang balance can be achieved without effort. So Yin and Yang, because Yin and Yang is always moving, it never be everything's changed except the fact that everything changes. So Yin and Yang balance in the universe and in yourself is always changing. It's like in 1 year, summer solstice is the highest of Yang, but the moment nanoseconds, there's more Yin is coming, right? There's no point that there's 100% Yang. So always changing. Yin and Yang balance is always changing. So when the changing is, so changing is the law of a physical world. So when this stable in body, mind, spirit is done, you are enlightened as a Buddha, because now you are away. When you become a Buddha, you jump away from the cycle of the birth and death. So you are away from you are now excluded from the Yin and Yang cycle of birth and death. So that means you are Buddha. So that's how you become a Buddha. You truly need to have a healthy digestion if you want to be a Buddha, because healthy digestion is the start of any treatment. For each individual, the severity types and location, severity types and location of the imbalance of Yin and Yang is different. Usually, it takes detailed consultation to find a precise balance of Yin and Yang. So for Chinese, instead of go micro, we Chinese went macro, how the universe works, and then put the imbalance of the given symptoms into the categories of where the imbalance is, and that's how we treat diseases. So it really doesn't matter if this virus is new or not, because the symptom progression, symptom presentation, and what that means to the body and to the universe always stays the same. Yellow Emperor in Huangdi Neijing, Yellow Emperor talks a lot about this. It's really, Yellow Emperor's Inner Canon. It's very interesting book to read, to understand. And then I didn't understand from just read it once or twice, but it at least gives me that they are so buying it, like a Chinese philosopher is like, and then the universe, universe movement of the stars and moons, and then how our body is affected by it is very interesting. Also in Yin and Yang, traditional Chinese medicine also work with 5 elements, Wu Xing. 5 elements are wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. So wood elements, wood feeds into the fire. So wood nourish the fire. Fire, after the fire, there's the ash. So that's earth. So fire nourish the earth. In the earth, there's the metal. So earth hosts metal to generate. So earth nourish into the metal. And then when the metal is formed, it is said that the water is also generated. So metal nourish into the water, and of course water nourish into the wood. So this is a nourishing cycle of 5 elements. And then this is also how organ nourish into each other. And each element comes with the organs, such as in wood, liver and gallbladder, and water there's a kidney and bladder. Not also there's the seasons: spring, summer, winter, and autumn. Earth is a odd one. Every time the season changes between winter to spring, spring to summer, summer to autumn, it goes back to Earth. So if your earth element is weak, you will get some symptoms. Those are the people who say, oh, every time season changes, I get a cold. Or those are this type. There's associated emotion with it. Anger for wood, joy for fire, fear for the water. So if you so kidney is a water organ. So if you have weak kidneys, you may have more fear, something like that. And these blue lines are what we call the controlling cycle, how each element keep an eye on the other element. So wood controls or keep its eye on earth. But when the wood does too much of the controlling, earth gets timid away and then doesn't function well. So that's the part that the liver and spleen is in disharmony. Those are the type the people whose because the anger is emotion of this element, and then liver digests your stress. When those people who's with high stress, digestion goes low. Or those are this type. Like when there's a wood is too strong with like dealing with stress, then earth gets timid away, and then you don't digest well. I don't personally work with 5 elements because this is a traditional Chinese medicine. More like the philosophy, it's been there for thousands of years, but my lineage of the practice doesn't use 5 elements like this. But this is very important part of Chinese medicine. So for COVID-19, it is a lung issue, so it is a metal. It's a metal issue. And then lungs are metal. Under the metal issue, there's a lung and large intestine. And I think that is why that Samrentan was used, my guess. I may be wrong, but I was looking at the formulas that's typically given for the early stages, and there was a few herbs for the bowel support, and then I think it's because lung and large intestines are sister-brother relationship, so they needed to support the large intestine to recuperate lungs. And lung and large intestines are interesting that I see, well, because I don't treat COVID-19, I more treat other day-to-day matters here in Cambridge. I see this in relationship often in the skin cases. Because the skin is governed by lung. Skin is the organ that lung governs actually. So when people with eczema or psoriasis, or acne is the one too, I always see what's happening in their colon, what's happening in their large intestine. They most likely have digestive issues with bowel movement more in focus. So quickly, I would like to introduce how classical Chinese medicine works, and this is the one that I do more. So how classical Chinese medicine works is on top of Yin and Yang theory, And instead of five elements theory, we use the classical Chinese medicine uses 6 stages theory. So 6 stages is how the medicines progress into, starts from the outer layers and then go all the way into the deep layers. So we see how deep the pathogens enter to cause symptoms. So there are exterior. So classical Chinese medicine practitioners try to find where the pathogens, not in the organs, but where in what layers. Are they in the exterior layers, which is this outer blue-gray layers, which consist skin pore, skin, muscle, and joint. So any pain, any joint pain or muscle pain is exterior layer issues. Or is it the internal layers? Internal layer is all about, everything's about digestive tract. So as my teacher said, from the mouth to anus. So is this about if it's about the digestive issue, it is the interior layers, or is this green half exterior, half interior layer? So that's what we look for, where there are pathogens. So each layer has the different exit for the pathogens to come out. If it's an outer layer, it's released by sweating. So when you have a common cold, we give hot herbs to cause you sweating. Or if it's in internal issues, typical exit for any pathogen is usually through urination and defecation. For women, also a menstruation as well. The tricky part is this middle layer, this green layers. This green layer doesn't have an exit out. This is the trapped limbo layers that the pathogen don't have anywhere to go. So we need to harmonize. Only things we can do for these pathogens that stuck on this green layer is harmonizing entire body. And harmonizing the orange and then blue-green layers. Harmonizing this in 3D way, that's the most important. So Chinese medicine knows where the imbalance is, regardless of the cause, and regardless of what the disease is, a common cold or flu or food poisoning, IBS, depression, eczema, anything, COVID-19, there are always locations of yin and yang imbalance and the cause of it. Each symptoms are our clues, and when we have clues, we know where are the imbalance of yin and yang. So for each symptoms, we don't suppress them, but we reverse them. Once the balance of yin and yang is relatively achieved, because it's always changing, you only can relatively achieve, the body will produce its own antipathogenic qi, which in Western medicine, antipathogenic qi is called the immune system, which eliminates the pathogens by itself.